Anyone from New York in the audience? You might be able to tell, from the accent, but I'm actually not from around here. I'm actually not even from Brooklyn or Queens either. I'm from the UK. But I'm a huge fan of New York City. I love New York, and I'll tell you the reason why. It's very, very simple. When I was growing up in rural England, the only way that I saw New York was through comic books, through Marvel comic books specifically. From the very, very beginning of Marvel, New York has been an incredibly important part of their universe. And the fact that the adventures of their heroes were set in a real city was something that really meant a lot to me. But of course, it's not just me that loves New York. Everybody in our studio loves you guys. But like I said, we're not from around here. We're actually from San Francisco, all the way over in California. What? Wow. Is this a sports thing? It's a sports thing, right? Okay, whatever. My point being, as we come all the way from California, and our only reference point is Marvel, when we had to make Hell's Kitchen in the game, unfortunately it came out something like that. I blame Daredevil. Sorry, that's the vision of Marvel that we have. So, welcome to the Marvel Heroes panel here at New York Comic Con 2012. Thank you very, very much for coming. This, as we say, is the Marvel MMO we know you've been waiting for. We know you've been waiting a long time, and we're really sorry we're late. We wanted to show you an early prototype of the game. We have been working on it quite a long time, but, we were doing good things. We were upgrading. So, we're better now than we were back then. Shout out for Quest Pro. So who are we? We are Gazillion Entertainment. Like I said, we're from San Francisco in California. And we have some experience with the Marvel license. We made a game you may have heard of. It's called Marvel Superhero Squad Online. It's great. It's live right now. You can play it at heroup.com. It plays in any web browser, Mac, PC, Linux, whatever you want to do. And it's great, especially for kids. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about other stuff. So let me quickly introduce everybody who's here on this panel. My name is Stephen Reed. I'm Director of Community and Customer Service at Gazillion. To my left is David Brevik. David is best known, probably in the gaming industry, as being the man who created Diablo and Diablo 2.
Thank you, I love you too.
And we didn't see everybody in order here, but at the my far left, your right, is Matt Group, who's one of our associate producers. So his right, this is going to get confusing, with the hat, oh wait, no, there's two hats. Josh Book, who is our art director on the game. And last but not least, of course, that there would be TQ Jefferson, who's putting away his game of Smurf Village to pay attention to the panel. TQ would be Vice President of Games at Marvel. All right. So let's get going. Here's the big question everyone wants to know about. What the hell is Marvel Heroes?
It's great.
Awesome. It's great. Yeah, I like that answer. That's good. Okay, well, we're going to try and answer this. And, to try and answer this, the first thing I did was I went and I grabbed one of our marketing presentations. They give these internal presentations. And, it being a marketing presentation, it tended to be, kind of douchey. So according to marketing, it's a AAA massive online action RPG where you play as your favorite Marvel heroes and you get it all for free, and apparently it involves thinking wistfully about the title. So I made a few notes, like I don't understand what AAA means. Is that about fixing my car? There's so many buzzwords in there, I can't really understand that. Apparently we're not going to allow you to make knockoff heroes, which seems really strange. And the free part I really don't get. How are we going to make any money? I have cats. Also, what the hell is with that guy on the right? All right, so we're going to break it down for you, and we're going to start from the top. So it's a AAA massive online action RPG, a lovely, lovely acronym. But let's start with AAA. AAA is a term that's thrown around a lot in the gaming industry, and the dirty secret is it doesn't really mean anything. It means whatever you want it to mean at any given point in time. But I like to say that, we really only have one A in our game, and our A stands for one thing, which is, of course, action! Triple action, that's what we have. Punisher approved, and here's a little sample. wanted to make the game incredibly fast-paced. We wanted it to be easy to pick up and play, and obviously, most of all, we wanted it to be fun, and that's why we chose the action RPG as a genre. But obviously, the action part of it is only one part of that massive, crazy acronym there. And one I know that anyone who's an MMO fan is going to want to know about is this word. So how are we massive exactly? Well, we have massive randomized zones, which is incredibly exciting to us. Most of Marvel Heroes, most of the game is in these open, large zones, which are randomized. And it's actually a first for MMOs. It's not a first for action RPGs. In fact, David pretty much pioneered it with Diablo. But it's very, very exciting to us because as you go in, you can replay these areas again and again. You know how when you've played an MMO like once or twice and basically you can memorize the map and you know exactly where you're going at any given time? Well, not the case in Marvel Heroes. You'll be going through and you'll be exploring every time, finding new stuff, finding new mobs, finding new positions for bosses, all kinds of stuff. So it's very, very cool. And of course, at the same time, because these are huge open zones, we call them public combat zones, you can interact and team up with dozens of other players at a time. Yep, we have massive iconic threats as well. You can battle against the greatest threats in the Marvel Universe. You get to work with other players in these huge open missions. You get to band together. You can see some Sentinels in the background here. You can team up to take them down. And then you can gather medals to record your triumphs and to show off to other people. So, we got the massive in the online action RPG, but the question really is, where's the RPG? So, depending on your age, you might have a different definition of what an RPG is. Shout out to the original Redbox Massive, all right? But regardless of whether you come to role-playing games from the old D&D days or now you're playing games like Skyrim, they're all very, very similar in their core principles. So what you do is you create a character, you customize that character as you progress, and then of course you experience a great story while you're doing it. Now, you may have heard this already, but in our game, you don't actually play as your own character. In fact, you play as one of the Marvel heroes. And there's actually a really long history of this. Again, showing my age, when I was a young lad, I used to play the Marvel Superheroes role-playing game from TSR back in the early 80s. Yeah, there's a few of us still alive. And that's even continuing today with the Margaret Weiss Marvel Heroic basic game. But what we really don't want to do in the game, quite simply, is let you create this guy. All right, nobody wants to be the guy with forks and knives taped to his hands. So one important thing for us was that we had no knockoffs in the game. You don't want to play Fork and Knife Man, you want to play Wolverine, right?
Hell yeah! Hell yeah!
And considering we don't just have Wolverine, we have a whole bunch of other heroes, 23 announced so far, well 25 now, strictly speaking.
Yeah, buddy.
I don't know why you wouldn't want to be one of these guys instead of being, Fork and Knife Man. But I know what you're going to ask me, which is what if there's a whole ton of Wolverines, running around on screen at the same time? And there's two answers to this. The first answer is, who the hell cares? Get together and form a guild, call yourself the Bubs, and have a good time. I'll tell you this, come to the booth if you haven't played the game already. I guarantee you, I've seen people playing all weekend, and as soon as they see multiple Iron Men on screen or whatever else, they're like, hey, that's actually pretty cool. Especially when you see tons of Hulks going at it at the same time. But at the same time, we're allowing you to customize your character by using alternate costumes. Oh, is that a brown costume? Yeah, I think it might have been. We have literally hundreds of different costumes in the game. And the man who's responsible for doing all of that and pushing all those costumes through the pipeline is Josh Book over here, who's our artist. And Josh is going to tell us a little bit about the costume creation process.
Cool. So, yeah, it's been a great project to work on so far, being a long-time comic book fan. And one of the interesting things when we take on a new character is that we go, okay, well, what? And so we're going to work on Hulk. What does Hulk look like, right? And what we realized, as we did a lot of research, is Hulk has actually had a lot of different looks over the years, and everybody in their mind has kind of a different idea of what Hulk is, what he should look like. How purple should his pants be, right? I don't know. He could go from the kind of magenta to the darker to the blue, whatever.
So 50 variants of purple pants is what you're saying? We'll
have hundreds of variants of purple pants. It'll just be the whole range. No, we were actually looking for more distinct versions of the different characters. So we take a look at all the different sources. We go through. Here is this is the Marvel Avengers film movie costume version. Planet Hulk, World War Hulk, you might recognize that. Yeah. That's a cool one. And then I don't know, I think some of these we have not seen before.
I think some of these might be new.
This what? Oh, wait, what? So that one's probably going to be pretty popular.
One more?
What was that?
One more?
Oh, yeah. Grey Hulk.
Grey
Yes,
skin,
exactly.
and then the one that really is out of, I don't know where this comes from.
What?
You're going to have to explain this one to me.
Oh, the Maestro? That is the Maestro Hulk, if people aren't familiar. So,
Future imperfect.
yes.
Yep.
So,
You want to go into a bit more detail on the Maestro one? I think we have some slides.
yeah. Let's talk about the Maestro a little bit. So our process is we build we have a team of character artists, which are they do modeling and they do the sculpting. So what we do is they start sculpting in a program called ZBrush, and they build all this intricate detail in the characters and all these different pieces. Then we move through that, and we start with the different source art. We look at the source art. We work with TQ and the team at Marvel to really come up with the really iconic look for these different characters and their costumes. And we pay a lot of attention to detail on them. So then we work from here with Miss Marvel. This is the classic Miss Marvel. We go from ZBrush to Maya, and then that's the characters you see it in game. So these are the model sheets we've been releasing online.
And you've probably seen this one if you've been paying attention. Storm is actually playable for the first time here at New York Comic Con, and this is the costume we already revealed for her, but we have a couple of other looks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, do we have them here?
Anyone remember this one? I think you're going to remember this one there. Best costume ever.
Yeah. And if you when you play the demo on the floor, that is a drop. That is possible. I've seen people running around as Mohawk Storm. It's pretty awesome.
But I wanted to shout out one thing. I'm very excited about this myself. When I was reading those Marvel comics when I was growing up, my favorite character, and still my favorite character, was, of course, Spider-Man. And we obviously have a modern costume for him in the game. But we decided that we wanted to go something with a little bit more old school, and so we came up with this. And I also want to shout out to Mr. Dan Slott, who's here. Thank you very much for coming, Dan. And I want to say one thing. Anyone who's been pestering Dan over Twitter, Superior Spider-Man is not what you think it is. But I can't say anything else. Suffice to say, it's good. All right. Thank you very much, Josh. And now we're going to hand it over to David. Because the next big thing in an RPG is, of course, how do you customize your hero? So, we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so one of the principles of the game, and really one of the things that we're trying to achieve, is that my version of whatever character is different than your version. I think we're going to look at some of the costumes here. Is that what we're going to look at?
We're going to look at a couple of similar heroes. So you'd expect that these guys are going to be tanks, right?
And so you would think that both these characters play very, very similarly, but they don't. And we're doing a lot of things that kind of not only speak to their character, but also kind of speak to the differences. And so each one of these you can consider to be kind of its own unique character class. So what would be different between the Hulk and Thing? Well, Hulk, his powers are much more like offense-based, and he does a lot of things at high DPS, does a whole bunch of stuff. They can both do things like throw cars and leap around, but Hulk, really rips up the street and things like that. Whereas Hulk, the Thing is much more of a group kind of character. It speaks more to the kind of his personality. He can buff your group, and he's a great teammate to have on your team. So not only speaks to their personalities, but also yet they play very, very differently in the game. They have very different skills and very different traits. Deadpool and Wolverine. Wait, I think that would be a good crossover. These characters may also play very differently. And one of the principles that we're trying to apply, not just to every single character, is each character can actually play differently. This is a principle that I used even in Diablo 2. You've seen it with like the Amazon. You can play with bow or you can play with spear. Same kind of principle applies here. My ideal Wolverine is I love the X-Force Wolverine. And so putting him in that costume and taking a bunch of skills and putting my points in the powers that really build up his bleeds and stuff like that makes it this kind of massacring Wolverine. And if that's the way you want to play, then that's great. We're going to give you that option. And so, and then that may be different than somebody else's who's wearing classic brown suit and I'm leaping around the screen a bunch and stuff like that and very agile. And that may be your ideal Wolverine. So every single character class can actually play differently, not just from each other. So it's very deep RPG.
Deadpool's a little different.
Deadpool's a little different. He's very different from Wolverine in that he has both ranged attacks and close attack and melee attacks, and he dodges and evade, and yeah, he is insane. It's really fun. He has lots of great quotes. If you put the headphones on, come by the booth and listen to him play him, it's awesome. He has some really great lines.
So the vision here is...
So the vision here is that not just will each character play different from each other, but everyone plays even different within itself, and we have basically what amounts to well over 20, now well into the mid-20s announced character classes for this game, which is pretty outrageous.
All right, thanks, David. And now we're going to hand over to Matt. When Matt isn't wrangling voiceover for our game, of which we have a ton, he also helps wrangle artists. So we thought it'd be appropriate being here at New York Comic Con to show off some of the motion comic stuff we have. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, in Marvel Heroes, we're telling a really deep story, and one of the ways that we want to tell the story is through motion comics. And, my philosophy is the more we can fall in line with the other things that Marvel has done, the better, because Marvel fans will feel right at home. So with our motion comics, we have a variety of motion comic artists that are actually working in the comic books today who are also doing the art for our comics. Also, if you guys want it, at 4 p.m., I think today, right, we're having
we're doing a signing at the Marvel booth.
At the Marvel booth, so some of our motion comic artists will be there as well. And really, our process is very similar to traditional comic books.
We couldn't quite magic up Brian Michael Bendis, though. We did manage to get him for PAX, but he wouldn't travel off the West Coast. But he is writing the entirety of the game from a sort of lead writer standpoint, and he's written all of the motion comics, which is very exciting for us.
Yeah, it's great fun working with all this awesome talent from the Marvel family. You can see over here some of the different steps that we go through for the comic book, or the motion comics. We kind of do the traditional thing where we do pencils and then inks and then colors. And before that, we get the scripts from Brian, and then in-house we make our own animatics, which are basically moving storyboards with sound associated with them. Josh is actually our director for all of our motion comics. And at the end, you get a nice image like that. We then send it off to a group called Sequence in Canada, who animate it all, and then New Generation Pictures, who's also done Marvel vs. Capcom and the pinball games. They're handling all of our audio design. So really, we're trying to get it as an authentic of a Marvel experience as possible.
And we're going to show you one right now.
It's not your fault, little one. Homo sapien is the only true work of God. Mutant is the abomination of the devil.
God doesn't want mutants.
This is the Judgment Day.
Senseless. They hate us so much, just because we are different, just because we are mutant. This is the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. I am Charles Xavier, and I have dedicated my life to educating and training mutants. The best and brightest of my students you know as the X-Men. We dream of a world of peace and equality, where mutant and human could live together peacefully. But there are those who would die or kill to stop this from happening. That is why I've called you here. Anti-mutant activity has grown increasingly violent. Because of the rise in New York City's mutant population, the mutants took it upon themselves to form their own community Mutant Town. But Mutant Town is now under siege by anti-mutant vigilantes. They call themselves the Purifiers. To my frustration, I must tell you I don't know anything more about them. I need you to go to Mutant Town and help stop the growing violence. Show your support for us. Let the world know that its heroes and its mutants stand together.
Nice. All right, so let's recap and let's go through what we talked about here. So we said we have a massive online action RPG. Let's check in again with that lovely marketing presentation. So it was AAA. We established that. That's all about action. Massive online action RPG. Play as your favorite Marvel heroes. Yep. Weird guy staring into space. And all for free.
What's with the asterisk?
Did someone added an asterisk to my presentation. There must have been someone from marketing. I think they crept in here. So yeah, David, what is up with the asterisk? What does that mean? What does all for free mean?
It means you can play it all for free.
You get to play the whole game for free.
I didn't put the asterisk there.
That has to be wrong. I didn't see how
the
that could
entire
be.
thing for free.
No. So what you're saying is you pick a character,
Yes.
you start playing,
Yes.
you play all the way to the end of the game,
Yes.
and then you can play it again.
Over and over.
And there are no barriers.
No barriers. All free.
And no pay for power.
No pay for power.
Okay, the important question is, how are we going to make money?
Your cats are going to go hungry.
I have 3 cats. Okay, you can buy characters, right?
Yes.
And you can buy costumes for your
Yes.
characters. Okay. But
But
you can earn them by playing the game.
that's correct.
All right. We can probably figure that out.
Yes.
There you go. All right, we're going to hand over to TQ. He has a few things to talk to you about. I know he likes to talk about the core pillars of the Marvel game, which he's always hitting us with at every opportunity.
Yeah, if you were at the Marvel Games panel earlier, this is going to be a little bit of review for you, but for those of you who are new, Marvel has recently taken just a hard look at the games that we've made in the past and what was important to us then and what's important to us moving forward. And in doing that, we rededicated ourselves to quality, quality above all else. No more 40 rated games, that sort of thing, if we could help it. And what that got distilled down into was 3 core pillars. First and foremost is fun. Seems really obvious, but it's one of those things you need to put it out there and you need to keep it as your guiding light. Fun and engaging gameplay. Gameplay trumps everything else. Second is compelling story. Stories is built into Marvel's DNA. We've been doing it for 70 years now, and I hope we do it for 70 more. But it's what we do best. So an engaging story with fleshed out characters, with deep backstories, but also presented in a way that is approachable. So if you don't know anything about Deadpool, that's fine, but you can learn on the way. If you're the guy that's collected every issue of Wolverine and knows him backwards and forth, this game is also for you. And then finally is the true to character experience. It's letting the characters be the characters. I'll give you a very good practical example of how I and my team work with Gazillion on realizing being true to the characters and maintaining fun gameplay. Say they came to me and said, you know what, we found this really great gameplay where if we gave Spider-Man twin guns, it would just be awesome. It looks great, it's all these cool animations. Well, that's not true to the character. Spider-Man's never going to use a gun. But what we'll do is we'll boil it down to, well, what are you really asking us? What are you asking us for? You're asking us for a mechanic where Spidey has rapid fire projectiles. Well, then maybe what you want are web balls then, where he fires like small pellets of webbing at people from both of his web shooters. So now you've got that great mechanic, but you haven't broken the character. So it's these pillars that are now driving all of our decisions moving forward. And these guys have been doing an excellent job of all the 20-something that have been announced, and I know about all the other ones too, of realizing that true to character experience, delivering great story, and having it all orbit around fun and engaging gameplay.
So we have a couple of new characters that we wanted to announce. If you were at the Marvel Games panel, apologies because you've seen these already.
Hey there, Human Rocket here. Follow me if you want a good show.
And one more. Oh, actually, no, we were going to just segue there because he's a character that has a special ability.
Yes, exactly. One of the things that makes this character compelling is, Nova is also known as the human rocket. And in order to realize that, you need flight. In most action RPGs, flight really means hover. In this game, flight means flight.
Now, when we first talked about this in the studio, I was skeptical. I remember the early design meetings about flight. It was a little different than the way it is now. But David, how do we overcome it?
Well, we overcame it with a variety of trial and error, actually. But in the end, we're very happy with the way it turned out. We feel like this really opens up the gameplay in a totally unique way. Flying over, dropping down into the group of enemies, and making laying waste very quickly. It's just a lot of fun. It's a really unique mechanic. I don't think it's ever been done in an action RPG before, and it really just changes the gameplay dramatically. And you can test it out at the
Got Miss Marvel here flying as well. You can fly indoors. And there was one other character we announced at the Marvel Games panel, which we're going to show you here quickly.
Time to kick some damn butt. Somebody call for a hero.
Yep. Luke Cage.
Sweet Christmas.
Yes.
And for those, wasn't it Javon who asked this? Javon, where are you?
Javon, Marvel's director of games marketing, requested 70s Luke Cage with afro and tiara.
You gotta have the tiara. I mean, But there is one more character announcement that we got to make here today. Now, the question I have to ask you is, who do you think is the most requested character that we've had since we announced the game?
Skullgirl's already been announced.
They're all shouting at once. All right. You're gonna find out. If you're at the Marvel Games panel, you didn't see the end of this trailer, but you're about to.
Eat hot lasers!
Let's bust some heads. Time to rearrange some faces. This power is mine to wield.
I can feel my power rising.
Finally, people could stop asking me about Jean Grey every 5 seconds. Yeah, Jean Grey is in the game, as you can see here in a classic Phoenix costume. And if you're not up to date on what's going on in Marvel Comics, you might be wondering how we can get her in the game. Well, it's our friend Brian Michael Bendis again. He's bringing her back from the, back from the future? No, past?
Forward from the
back. Forward to the
Future to the, anyway.
Imperfect.
She's in all new X-Men #1, which is coming out very, very soon now. And when we saw this cover and we saw this art and we knew it was going in, I started hassling Josh every 5 seconds.
It's true. It was probably more like 4 seconds, but yeah.
I'm like, we need Marvel Now costumes. We need Marvel Now costumes. So his team went to work, and yep, we have a Jean Grey Marvel Now costume in the game. And other costumes for her too, but that's what we're going to show you today. Okay. So, does anyone have any questions? And before you ask the questions, I'm going to preface with a couple of things. Number one, no, we don't have a release date yet. It'll be done when it's done. 2, it's really free. Even with the asterisks, we weren't lying. 3, yes, you can get into closed beta, but we are opening it up on a slow ramp. So don't be disappointed if you don't get picked. And yeah, anyone else who's got any other questions, feel free to line up.
One more. We won't answer whether or not character X is in the game.
Is character X in the game? So we're able to put pretty much any character from the Marvel Universe in the game. So if they're not in the game at launch, the great thing is we'll be adding tons more over time. We have a list that's just an enormous list of characters that we want to get in, and we have daily cage fights to try and discern who's going to go in first. So whoever wins the next cage fight gets to put their character in the game. Why don't we start with you?
Thunderdome.
Hi, I'm a very big fan of MMOs and RPGs, and I like how the game it sucks you in as soon as you start it. I tried out the demo; it's very, very good so far. And my question is, you guys showed tanks and you guys showed the damage dealers, but do you guys have any support characters? Because after all, you can't have a team without a support.
So there are definitely characters that are more group friendly than others. But it takes all types. We don't really have kind of the holy trinity of old MMO school where you got the tank, the DPS, and the healers. It doesn't really make any sense. This is an action game, and everybody's responsible for themselves. But there are different characters that play better together, and there's lots of teams and things like that that will really be emphasized.
Oh, and my second question is, I see this game is easy for you to get engaged, but is it like a game where it's easy to learn but hard to master?
Oh yeah. Very much so.
Go ahead.
Can you play in space at all?
Can you play in space?
In space. In the Milky Way galaxy.
Is there a level in space? You mean that kind of thing?
Yeah.
We've only announced a few locations that you're going to go to. Some great locations. Hell's Kitchen, which we've shown off. Midtown Manhattan. Savage Land, a whole bunch of places, but we haven't announced other locations like that so far. Next.
So, I know you guys said that the game isn't out yet and that the story's being worked on, but do you think when you're done you'll have expansions that are based on stories going on in the Marvel Universe?
That's definitely something that we want to try and do. We would love to get more integrated. I mean, I feel like we already are starting to get more integrated with Marvel and the events that are going on, and we would like to try and keep that up as much as possible and do a bunch of kind of like cross-universe, welding as much as possible. And really, I think I love the comics, and so the more we can do with that, that would be fantastic.
Right, thanks.
Part of what I do is liaise between Marvel Publishing and Gazillion. So these guys knew about Marvel Now before a lot of people knew about Marvel Now, and they knew what the characters looked like, and they could start planning to sync the comic book stories with what's going on in the game. So we definitely encourage it.
My question is somewhat similar to his. Say you were to put Jubilee in the game. Would she be more likely...
Now, why would you ask about Jubilee, I wonder?
Would she be more likely to be the current vampire Jubilee or classic Jubilee who still has her pre-M-Day powers?
That's a good question that I can't answer.
We'll have to think about that one, I think.
Sorry.
From a look standpoint, though, we would definitely, we want to have a wide range of looks for the characters. So if there are, very distinct looks of her that have existed, we're going to work to try to get those in.
And powers, too, different powers. Because after M-Day, she lost her powers and
she
became
lost
a
her
vampire
powers.
and now has vampire powers.
That sounds like two
No
characters.
powers
for interesting gameplay.
I think Jubilee makes for a very special case in that she's, in a sense, two characters, like old Jubilee, new Jubilee. So that's a good one. That's a good question.
Let's take two from this side.
Hi, I was just wondering, are you going to have anything in the way of gear and equipment that you're going to have changed the aspects, or?
I couldn't hear the question.
Gear and equipment.
Gear. Oh yeah, there is gear and equipment. In fact, we're on the 7th item system at this point. But it's very important not only to action RPGs, but also feel like you're doing something. And we do have an equipment system that we're really proud of at this point. It doesn't change your look. Your costume is responsible for your look, but it'll change your stats and increase your powers and things like that. And it's randomly generated, just like Diablo.
Next one from there.
Okay, I'm not really a big fan of computer online games, but since I played the demo upstairs, I have to say it's very, very good enough that I really want to play it. But I was wondering, are y'all going to expand it from the PC to like the home console systems like PlayStation 3 and such? Because I play some via PlayStation 3 versus PC, but this is like the first PC game I really want to play now.
So the good news is, well, there's good and bad. Here's the good news. We'll be on PC. We're also going to do a Mac version after we lock the PC version. Locking a Mac right here, so we like Macs. And the aim is for the game to really scale very well, so it'll play on older PCs and laptops and that sort of thing. But there aren't any plans for a console version of this.
And also too, are y'all planning to probably make a free roam version of it for the home console?
No.
Similar like to DC Universe. Sorry for bringing up DC.
That's... It's a fair question. It's a fair question. Yeah, that would be essentially a completely different game. I think that's fair to say.
I mean, yeah. Yes.
All right, let's take one from this side and then we'll go back and forth.
First of all, David, were you in Blizzard North?
Yeah, I was president of Blizzard North.
Yeah. Love your work.
Thank
Great. Sorry to, what happened. But big question for me is, what's your end game going to be like? Is it going to be like Diablo 2 where I farm my ass off, or do I just constantly... I mean, it's great that I can try different characters, but I know people that will just constantly just grind for gear, and they like to see the numbers.
He's basically asking you about endgame.
So basically just endgame.
Yeah,
Do I just farm more, or do I just...
there's going to be a lot to do in the game. It's going to take... there's a story, and you'll play through the story. It's very similar. You can basically take all the cues from Diablo 2. It's very much like Diablo 2. So when you're asking kind of what a feature of the game might be, ask yourself, what would Diablo 2 do? And that's kind of what it is.
Okay. We have some plans.
Yeah, I got one question. You're missing a couple of costumes up there. I was recently saw the trailer.
A few.
Who do we miss?
Wolverine, issue 1 from 1980.
You know, I brought that up recently. I pointed that one out.
And from the Jim Lee era, the one, the Uncanny X-Men, when they go out of space to face the CR Empire, that one you're missing. And this one, the Jean Grey's 1970s costume. How you can go wrong with that?
Josh,
we are
you making notes, Josh?
What was that?
You making notes?
Yeah,
yes. You're writing this down?
Yeah. No, believe me, we are looking at the full range of like every obscure costume that's ever, a mainstream and obscure costume that's ever existed for these characters. We're looking at all of them. And some of them, when we're looking for alts, there are some where it gets a little tricky. Squirrel Girl has not had a lot of looks over the year, but believe me, we are finding all of them. So.
Because there's more costumes, there's the alternate version.
There's loads more costumes.
Yeah, there's a lot more than what we've shown here.
Loads.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, not that one.
Okay. I had two questions. One of the questions that I had is this game entirely PvE? Are there any PvP aspects to the game? And will there be any professions in the game? Like, can you take up technology as Iron Man or something?
Crafting?
Yeah, crafting, something like that.
So we have a bit of a crafting game that revolves around your costume and creating costumes. You get to determine the look, and then the stats are randomly generated, and so you find components and stuff like that and craft these costumes. As for, what was the other part of the question? PvP. We haven't talked about our PvP plans, but that sure sounds like fun.
Thank you. All right, we'll have to just take a couple more, guys. I'm afraid we're going to have to clear the room, and I have one more thing for you. So.
Yeah, I have two questions. The first question is, I know you guys are trying to really hype up playing as multiple characters, but is there anything really like hindering us from just playing as one character for the whole game?
You can play as one character for the whole game. Yeah.
Yes.
If you want to, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my second question, do you guys have any plans to bring villains to be playable?
Playable villains? No one's ever suggested that before. Next question, please.
Like
that was actually going to be one of my questions too, whether or not there are plans for Marvel villains, but I'll let you guys think about that one. Obviously with the videos and the release and everything you had, a lot of the content seemed like it was voiced over. Is that going to continue throughout the entire game, planning on having everything voiced over from not only the comics, but as well as like the in-game content?
Matt Group.
Matt.
Yeah, I mean, really, we want to make sure that, the voices all fall in line with other things that you'd expect, too. So, like you notice, like Steve Bloom is doing Wolverine for us. He does Wolverine for everything. And, we want to have a lot of voiceover to kind of support the story that we're telling, not only just in the cutscenes, but when you're in the world. We have a really nice banter system. So if you're playing as Wolverine and I'm playing as Cyclops, we'll say X-Men-ish stuff to each other. So.
Right. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
We have a big voice cast. All right, one more.
Okay. My question is to David. I just want to know sort of the balance between sort of the online public areas and what's going to be instance, because I do love, when you're able to run into an area and play with strangers, but I hate when you're waiting for like a sentinel to spawn because the group just killed you 5 minutes before you logged on.
Yeah, well, there are things we're going to do to kind of alleviate that, but the demo that we have isn't really the true form of the game. But I'd say at least 60, maybe closer to 70% is public space, and the rest is instance.
All right, we do have a couple more things to do, so I'm just going to have to cut it short, I'm afraid. If you have more questions, feel free to find us on Facebook /Marvel Heroes. You can find us on Twitter as well with the massively multiplayer Marvel Society. But like I said, we had a couple more things that we wanted to say. So you should definitely come and play the game. It's right here at Comic-Con at booth 1556, right in the middle of the show floor. If you haven't had a chance to go up there and play it. If you have been by the booth, you might have noticed we're doing this kind of card mission game thing where you basically collect trading cards and then you get loot for turning them in. And as you leave today, make sure you pick up, of course, an exclusive Jean Grey card just for coming by. But I have one more thing. What? What is that? That's me at 3 o'clock this morning printing these cards. Not really. I didn't print them. But I was there at 3 o'clock in the morning. We'd love you to join us in closed beta. Everybody here. If you've got friends who want to get in, then do encourage them to sign up for closed beta at marvelheroes.com. It's really easy to do, and we can get people in as soon as we can, and that's all we have to say. You rock. Thank you for coming. Make sure you pick up your key on the way out.